Okay. Okay, 35, we're in the middle of it. And Hake, Eum. So Hake means these things. Eum is him. Hord falsa. So something's not false. And going with Eum him is a present participle, memorandum. And we have an ablative absolute in Gentai consensu, populus Romanus. These are the nominatives. Okay, so the Roman people, populus Romanus, they ordered him, taking infinitive, to rule. Hearing him, remembering these not false hake, these not false things, and it was by a huge consensus. The consent of most of them looks like was very favourable towards this, and they put him as their king. Okay, so therefore then, the virum, the man, cetra egregium. So the man was egregium, he was outstanding or special, secuta cetra, which means, so with the things which followed, the man was special, and the things which he habited in patendo, which is the gerund version. So the same egregiousness, the same specialness he had in seeking things, etiam, even, so it's an ambition, ambitios. So the ambition this man had, which and the things which followed, stayed in this consistent with the same things he had in seeking it, even when he was regnatum, even when he was ruling, he still displayed the same specialness. Nec minus, neither was there less, firmandi, so another gerundive looking thing. Nevertheless was he in firming up his kingdom, the sua means it's his, than in orgending, increasing the republic, was he memor. So he was mindful of doing these actions, which is probably why these gerundive things are in the genitive. Okay, so he wasn't mindful of less of any way of affirming or strengthening his own kingdom than he was in enlarging the republic. And he legated, so he picked a centum, which is 100, in patres, to become fathers or senators. Qui, who, de then, were appellae tatai sunt, the minorum gentium. They were then called lesser fathers, I'm guessing, of the minorum factions, and gens gentium, etc. And this factio, this faction, hor dubia, without a doubt, by the beneficio, by this kindness of the king, they venerated. They came into the curia and of the senate house without a doubt. Looks like this faction was devoted over to the king because of him doing this. Bellum primum, the first war, he guessed it, he conducted, was with the Latins. And the oppidum, the town Apiolis, ibi means there, he capited, he took by force. Preda, booty, inde then, major quam, which is more than, quanta, as much as the fama, the rumours of belli, of war had been. So he brought back more booty than what had been rumoured to be of this war, and revector shows that it was brought back, so it was preda revector. And there were more opulent ludos, more opulent games, it's a comparative, opulent's the same in English. He instructus, he created or ordered to be done, than which priores reges had fecunded, than what prior kings had done. Tum primum, so then was the first, looks dative or ablative, quid, so something to the circus, which is now the Maximus Dicator, so the circus, which is now called Circus Maximus, designatus locus est. So a place was designated for this circus. Loca were divised, so divided up with places for the patribuses, these are the fathers, and the equitabusses, these are the knights who make $400,000, they're classified as knights. Ubi, where a spectacular, this is a place you could watch the circus, I'm guessing, quizque, each one had factor and it had made this for them sibi, for themselves, and these were called fori, which is, it's like where they have the wedges, the seats, rows of seats. Okay, so Daily Dictionary, a forum is the court of justice in the forum in Rome in the market, but a foras is a cell of bees or a gangway in a ship. And the row of benches erected for the game circus. So spectavere, they spectated. Looks like duodenesis 12 popped up on furcuses, which are forks, you might want to say, the things that hold up. Ab terra, from the ground, spectacular. So there were 12 seats which were sustenibus altarpeds, up so in 12 feet. So 12 feet from the ground, it looks like, were they on these supports, the furcuses. Ludicrous speed. So we'll just say that as the games fuit were the equi and pugilis. So the horses and pugilis, which are boxers, from Etruria, Maximae, so mostly, or the greatest amount of them were from Etruria, and Arcadia means they were summoned. So the equi and pugilis were summoned, especially from Etruria, for these games. So day in day then, solemnes, so it looks like the solemn event, would mansere, would remain annui ludi, so they become annual games, and they were palatide variously, either the Roman games or the Magni games, or the great games. Ab eodum rege, from the same king, et also the Kirka around the forum were, so they were places divided up, loca divisa up, for the aid of Vacanda, for the building of private benefactors or private citizens around this forum. Looks like facta, so it means made, were porticus, these are colonnades, and taberna, these are little shops. 36. Amuro quoque lapido. So also, he was parabating, he was preparing to circumdare, para takes the infinitive, to surround the urbum, the city, with a lapidi muro, with a rock wall, cum, when the Sabentine bellum intervened his coeptus, the things he had began. Adioque, to such an extent, subiter res, the matter was so sudden, ut, we have adio ut, such an extent it was that the hostes, the enemy, were able to cross the Aeniam prius quam, then it looks like the Roman exercitus, the Roman army, was able to stop them and to ire obvium, to go out to stop them or meet them and to prohibere them. Okay, so that's how suddenly it happened. Itaque, and so accordingly, Roma, at Rome, we'll say, was trepidatum. There's a lot of trepidation and fear. And the first thing that happened in primo was a dubious victory. So it could have went either way. And udaque, on both sides, there was magna cade. There was great slaughter, pugnamartum est. This is how the fight was fought. There was the outcome was a bit dubious, and there was great slaughter on both sides. Reductus deinde. So then we're led back in Castra into the camp. The Copius Reductus. Forces were led back into the camp of the enemy. And to the Romans, dative, was dato spartio. Space was given to the comperandum, to the procuring, for a day integro. So they were procuring for the war, the start day integro from the fresh. And Tarquinus, that's the king dude, he was Maximae, especially deessing, lacking in his own strength, and so he thought that the equitem, so he thought that they should get knights for what was lacking to his strength or his men. And so to the Ramnes and the Titienses and the Lucres, which were centurias, he subscribed, so he enrolled more, it looks like. So he added others. He decided to add others. And looks like with this suo noma, with his own name, so he could leave something significant you might want to say about his own name. So these ones originally had come from Romulus, and then he's added others using his own name. And this, quia, because Romulus had fecerated this. Romulus had done this by augury. Attius Navius negare. He denied this. He was in his appositions. He was an inclitus, ea tempestate, in that time augur. So Attius Navis Inclitus and August are all positions. So neither could be mutaro, change, nor could there be a new thing, is posse, which is what we're going to finish. Neither was able to be anything new constituted, nisi, unless the aves, the birds, had exurented, unless the birds spoke up. This would be what this augurio thing is, by the augur. He would need to get favourable birds to for this to happen. Exeo. From this, the ire, the king, regi of the king, motor was moved. And he's about to inquit. So he's going to say, in the ludens qui, and mocking, ludens is being playful or mocking, this art, ut ferret, they say he spoke as this, agentum, come now, divino tuo, that's vocative, so that E would usually be a US. You divine person, priest or whatever, no, is a question. Is it able to happen or become by this augury what now I am conceiving in my mind, in my mente? Okay, and when he, the augurio rem expertus, so when he tests this matter, perfecto, so assuredly he has said about the future, at qui hoc animo agitavi inquit. So atqui is a yet word, so yet I'm agitating this in my mind, he said, that you should discussurum, that's a future, you should use scissors, there's the word scissors, you should cut up a cotem, which is a whetstone, with a novacula with a razor. Cape, imperative, take these things, and parag, and act out, what tua is, what your birds portendo, what your birds portend is going to happen. It's able, may happen, fieri means happen or whatever. Tum, then, illum, he, hord cunctata, not delaying, cunctating is delaying, he discizit essayed, he cleaved in half, ferent they say, a cotem, a whetstone. Okay, I think skido, tell means cut. A statue of Attius, with his capite velatoed, with his head covered, quo in loco res acta. So it looks like, which is in the place where this matter was acted or done, in the comitia, it's the assembly, in the gradibus ipsis, in the steps themselves, ad levum, to the left of the Senate House of the Curia. The cotem, the whetstone, quoque also, is sitem, placed in eodem loco, in the same place, for it to be remembered that esset, that's the imperfect, to posteros, to posterity, looks like it's a monument of this miracle. If you call it a miracle, they did. Auguries. So to auguries, certes, certainly, in this qui, and to the priests of auguries, tantus honors, such honors, so a great top of honors were accessored or added, so that nihil belli and domi, nothing in war at home, so in war and peace, poster afterwards was guaranteed, nisi, unless it was by these auspicious, as by consulting birds, I guess. No concilia populi, no councils of the people, the army wasn't vocatid, the army wasn't summoned, summa remum, very important matters. When the birds non-admisserent, the word diremitted, they were aborted or they decided not to do it unless they did this, and the birds gave them the go-ahead. Nequi, so neither tum then did Tarquinus, concerning the centuries of, split by the genitive of the nights, did he mutavit quicquem. So Tarquinus did not change anything concerning these centuries of the nights. Remember, there was 3 of them, and he was going to add his own name. So, but he addicated to the number alterum tantum. Looks like the same amount again in number, so that there was a milli and octogentai equites. So there was 1,800, so 1,800, and they remained in the tribus centuries, in the 3 centuries. Almost done. Posterios modo. So Now times for posterity under the same names of which they've been added appellatai sunt. So they're called under the same names which are added, but which are now queer, because they are geminata, they are doubled. So they're called secondary knights apparently. So you have the original, and then they were doubled, and the doubled ones are called the secondary knights. They're now called sex centurias. 6 centuries they are now called. And that's the end of 36.